Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you all how to make these adorable little bags. So these are perfect for little kids who want to dress up and walk around with these cute bags. These aren't very big, so unless you like little small bags, these may not be a fit for you. But overall, fairly simple pattern. Then I'll show you everything you need to know to make these. This one is a little different because it has this little clasp to close it, and it has a stem and a vine, so that'll be slightly different than the ghost one, but overall these will be exactly the same on how we make the actual bag itself. So I'm going to show you all the materials that we'll need, and I will have down below in the description affiliated links for some of the supplies. I'm affiliated through Amazon, so if you want to help support me in this channel, please try and purchase something from that list. It helps me out. I make a little profit from the sales made when you do purchase through my links. So it's just a way to help me with YouTube and help me grow and help me provide the supplies for these videos and ways to make these videos for you guys. So if you want to help support me, that is a great way to do so. So let's get to those supplies. First off, of course, we're going to need yarn. For the specific jack-o'-lantern bag, I used Red Heart Super Saver in the color Pumpkin. I'm a little worried doing this tutorial using this one and running out. This is the only ball that I have left of this exact color, but that's the color I used, so if you want to get that exact effect that I have, this is the one I used. Otherwise, I'm going to be using this tutorial is good old Walmart brand acrylic yarn. This one is just the color of orange. So nice simple color. So any color that you want to make your pumpkin or your ghost. I'm going to have a bunch of different colors here that I'm going to show that we'll be using for your ghost. This is just Walmart brand acrylic yarn in the color of white. So you can use any Red Heart or any other acrylic yarn. I'm using acrylic for all of this. So whatever acrylic yarn in the 4 weight is what I'm using. And then I'm also going to have brown because I'm going to be doing the stem. And this one is just whatever yarn I have. This one looks like it is Craft Smart. And this is in the color number 12, brown. So brown color will work too. Not getting too fancy on colors here. And then of course I've got green. If we want the specifics on that, it's also Walmart and it's just in the color green. So you could be using Red Heart or, like I said, any other acrylic, whatever color you want. And we will be using a G hook or a 4.25 millimeter hook. So get that. You'll want some scissors for cutting our yarn and for adding our face. So we'll be using felt, and then you'll need some hot glue to glue on your felt. And it wouldn't hurt to have just a couple extra sticks on hand too. I always like to keep one on hand because you never know when you run out of glue. Alright, so grab whatever color yarn you're going to need. So if you're doing a ghost, grab your white, or if you're doing the jack-o'-lantern, grab your orange, or if you're going to go fun with different colors, whatever color you're going to do. Like I said earlier, the pattern will all work up the same up until you do the stem and vine and the clasp for the jack-o'-lantern. The ghost doesn't have that. You're welcome to add that to yours, but in this tutorial I'll be showing how to do all that with the pumpkin jack-o'-lantern bag. But like I said, it's all about the same until that point. So grab your yarn. And we're going to make a slip knot. And if you don't know how to make a slip knot, I have a tutorial on how to do that. I will have it linked down below. And as well as my playlist for Crochet for Beginners if you're still learning. And also on how to chain, because that's the next step we'll be doing. So we're going to chain 42. So get your 42 chains going. Alright, once you've gotten your 42 chains, double check and count, because this is important to make sure you have those 42. So count all your little V's and make sure you've got those 42. So what we're going to do is we're going to count to the second chain from the hook. So we don't count the loop here, we count the first one here. And this is the second one. So this is the one we want to focus on. So we want to do 3 single crochet in that one stitch. So that second stitch should have 3 single crochet worked into it. Now what you're going to do next is a little tricky. So typically when we would work in the top stitch of each one. What we're going to work is we're going to take it and kind of look back behind there, and there's a little bump. And you kind of see them going all the way there. That's what you're going to be working into. And we're going to do that in the next 39 bumps all the way across. So it's a little tricky, especially if you're so used to just working in the front right here to do our single crochets. We're going to be working in that back one right there. It's right here. And just doing like a normal single crochet. So that would be normally where we would work in, right here. But we work back there. And doing this makes it, because sometimes when you work into these, it pulls them open. And then when you go, because we'll be working on both sides, so we'll work down and then we'll be working around. So what'll happen sometimes is you'll have like these big, you'll have this big hole going through each stitch, and it won't look very pleasant on our bags. So working in the back loop like that makes it where it doesn't pull all that open and make it look all holy and stuff, and we don't want that, because then you'll just see it going down the center of your bag, and I've done that before and it does not look very pleasant. So make sure you go, so we've only done 2, so go all the way counting to 39. I'll meet you guys back when we do that. Alright, make sure to count that you're getting that 39, so you had your 3 and then count 39. You should still have, oopsies, getting all tangled up here. So you should have still 1 stitch that you haven't worked into yet. So make sure, count that, and make sure you're all correct with that. So on that last stitch that we haven't worked into yet, you'll do 6 single crochet into this 1 stitch. So we're working back into the front here, not in the back anymore. So do your 6 single crochet. And if you got that little tail from when you started, this is where I start to kind of line it up with this, and as I work it, I will kind of have it tucked. I'll show it as we do it a little more, but I start getting it set up for that. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now 6. So I've been kind of working that tail included. And I'm going to keep doing that as we go. So then I don't have to really weave this in or sew it in later, you know. Alright, so we did our 6 single crochet in that one. Now we'll just work all the way down, just like we normally would single crochet, into the next 39 stitches. So this time you'll go, it's like there's my next one right here because we did this. I'm working into that next one. You'll be doing that all the way. So I've been working a little bit here and I have my little tail. You don't have to work it completely if you don't want. It's tucked in right here. So I'll probably leave this out now and just keep going. And then when I'm done, I'll just snip off that part. but you're welcome to go all the way through. I just like to have only a little bit of it tucked. I don't need to do the whole thing, but that's completely up to you. All right, once you've worked your 39 stitches, you should have ended up completely going through all of them until this is where we did our 3 single crochet at the beginning. So make sure, double check that you did your 39. So now what we'll do is we'll do 3 single crochet in that same spot. So we have, that was our 1, our 2, our 3. So this is just kind of that little ring that we've created from doing those 3. So you'll just continue working 3 more. So that'll create 6. So kind of like we did on this side, we had the 6. So it'll help keep those little curves. So we're just continuing that on this other side to even it all out. All right, and this will kind of, it'll be a little open right here, but as we work, everything will fit better. All right, so we'll do our chain 1 and turn. So if you're really wanting to do your whole stitch count for that first row, for all of your stitches, to make sure you're getting all your correct number, you should have 90 stitches all the way to the very end. All right, so we're doing our chain 1 and turning. So I chain 1 and I'm turning my work. So for our row 2, we are going to increase in that next stitch. So you'll do 2 in that same stitch. And then you'll do that in the next 2. So the first 3 will have increases. And then we'll do 39 single crochet again all the way across. All right, once you've done your 39 single crochet, make sure to double check that you did your 39. So remember your increases, and then oops, and count all the way to make sure that you actually did 39. It's very easy to miscount, so definitely make sure when you're doing this, especially as you go along, because we're going to be growing and growing, that you're not mistaking your stitches and counting and all that, because it won't line up correctly. And I know it's a lot of counting, but it's really worth it to make sure your stitches are right than to be going and then realize you don't have it right and it doesn't work out. So definitely take that time. I know it's hard and I know it's not fun, but it's super important. All right, after your 39 single crochet, you're going to increase in the next 6 stitches. So make sure you're counting. You got your 1 increase, your 2nd increase, your 3rd increase, your 4th increase, your 5th increase, and your 6th one. Don't be afraid to count out loud. Nobody will judge. No, they'll probably judge. Just do it. All right, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we're going to do single crochet 39 again, all the way down. After you've done your 39 single crochet, again, make sure you count. You should have worked through all of them, and then you should have 3 stitches left. And in those 3 stitches, we're going to increase in each one. And then you're going to, at the end, to attach into that first stitch, you're going to create a slip stitch to attach those together. So chain 1 and turn. So at the end of round 2, you should have 102 stitches if you're counting all the way around and want to know what your total should be. All right, for round 3, it'll be a little different. So we're going to single crochet to that first stitch right there. And then in the next one, you're going to bobble. So a bobble stitch. To do a bobble stitch, you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, grab that yarn and pull it through. So you'll have 3 loops on your hook. And grab the yarn and pull it through the first 2 loops only. So you'll have 2 loops on your hook. So we'll do that again. You're going to yarn over, insert into that same stitch. You're going to grab the yarn, pull it through, yarn over, and pull through those first 2 loops. Now we have 3. So our goal is to get 5 loops on our hook. So you'll keep yarn over, insert, grab, pull it through, yarn over, pull through those first 2. So we have 4 on our hook. So we need to do it one more time. Yarn over, insert, grab. Sorry, my yarn is squeaking. And then yarn over and pull through those first 2. So take your time on that. Bobbles are tricky in the beginning, especially when you're not used to using so many loops. So definitely take your time. I still even have to take my time because I'm always dropping and losing them. So just take your time with getting them. But you do that until you have 5 loops. And then when you have 5, you'll yarn over and pull your loop through all 5. And that's going to help start creating those little bobble bumps on our little bags here. All right, so that was our first bobble. So the repeat will be, you will do your single crochet, you'll do your bobble, and then single crochet, bobble. You'll do that all the way around the entire thing till you reach the end. All right, once you reach the very end, go ahead and count all your stitches. So when I count my stitches, I know it can be kind of tricky with the bobbles, but I just look for my little V's and just follow those all the way around and count those. So you'll have your bobble one, which is the bigger one, and then you'll have your single crochet, which is the smaller one. So you'll have that throughout. So you should count all of those, and at the very end, you should have 102 stitches. Remember to do your attaching here with your slip stitch. We'll chain 1 and we'll turn our work. So far this is going to be the front of our bag. Make sure your bobbles are always showing up on this side because we'll be doing a couple more bobbles, and make sure that they're all on this side. Alright, for row 4, this one involves a lot of different little parts because we're going to continue growing our little corners here. So it'll seem a little tricky as we're going, but we'll break it down and keep it where it's not tricky. Okay, so we are going to increase in the next stitch right here. So increase, you'll single crochet. Oops. Make sure you're grabbing the right loops. So we increased and single crochet. So we'll do that 2 more times. So we'll be doing it in a total of 3 times, repeating this. So we'll do another increase. So this will be our second repeat. And then we do our single crochet. Now we're on our 3rd one. Now we'll do a single crochet. So my recommendation, because it's going to get kind of trickier as we do the different curves and the repeats and all that, is just to really pay attention and count and see, okay, this is my increase, this is my single crochet, like, and just really kind of break it down as you go and count. Like I was saying, counting is really important with this because it's so easy for you to just have things shifted and then your curves are all in the wrong spot and you're going to run out of stitches, and it's just best to make sure that you are counting. Okay, now we're going to do our 39 single crochet all the way to the end. So just make sure you're working in those loops that are your actual stitches. It kind of can be tricky with the bobbles to kind of throw you off on where you're working. But it's that top one every time. So get your 39 stitches and I'll meet you guys at the end of that. So I was thinking while I was working on my 39 single crochets here, so if you're having a hard time counting and keeping track, or you want an easier way to keep track of your stitches, so like this was our repeat with the increase and single crochet where we did that 3 times. What you could do to help you is after you do that, I usually will put like a little, you could do a stitch marker, you could do a little paper clip where, so I've got my increase, single crochet, increase, and then single crochet. So if I wanted to be able to make it easy to see where my single crochets are starting, so that was my last one right here, and then from here on will be my 39, so then I can just start from counting here and not have to worry about that. So if you're a little worried about, you know, your little sections, you could do little stitch markers throughout to help you kind of have a quick way to reference. This is this section, this is this section. So just a way to help as you're still learning where your stitches are, because I can see how that can be really tricky. I mean, I can look at it and count, but as a beginner, I can see how that can be a little intimidating. So just breaking it up with little stitch markers, or you can use a paper clip, or you could use, I usually have like a yarn scrap that's about that long and I can place it, so I'll place it before I work that stitch. I can even show an example here when we do this section next. So make sure you're counting your stitches again, make sure you have 39. So the next little section that we're going to do this little curve here, so before I work that, there's my 39th one. So if you had a yarn scrap like me, I would just drape it right next to that stitch. So that'll tell me that the next stitch, that's the one I can count for this next section. I have tons of yarn scraps, so I'm always using those as stitch markers. Alright, so our next section, we're going to single crochet in the next stitch. Then we're going to increase in that next stitch. And so that'll be our repeat. So you'll repeat that a total of 6 times. So this was our first time. This is our second. Single crochet. And then we increase. Single crochet. Increase, single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase. So I usually find that I just try to do a few times because it's hard for me to count how many times I'm doing it and being like, okay, increase, single crochet, increase, single crochet. So what I'll do is I'll do what I think is the right amount, and then I'll go back, and we've got a little marker here so I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and look at that, 6. So don't worry about how you're counting stuff. Just do the repeat, and if you think it's been about that, then count back to see how much it is. That's usually what I do, and I kind of guesstimate. And you can always undo or add more. It doesn't hurt us. All right. Now this is where I would place another stitch marker for the next section. So go ahead and do that if you want. This is just to keep track. So it's not necessary. I'm doing this just so I can kind of show you how to keep track and count your stitches for each of these little sections, just because it can get really confusing and you might get lost along the way. So you're welcome to do that. Again, I'm just going to continue on like I've been doing without them. But this would be a good spot to add your stitch marker. And so now we're going to do our 39 single crochet again. So do your 39. I'll meet you guys at the end of that. All right. So once you've done your 39, make sure you count. I didn't put my little stitch marker there, but I know that I've got the 39 because I counted them. All right. So after you've done your 39, this is a good time if you're still doing the stitch marker little method to help you keep track. This is where you would want to add that. And then we're finishing up our last little bit here. So we're going to do the same thing that we did on this side. So you're going to increase in the next stitch and then single crochet. And you're going to repeat that a total of 3 times. So that was our first one. There's our second one. And then here is our third one. So it's not too tricky. It's just more of paying attention to our little clusters of where we're doing our little repeats and all that. All right, so at the end of doing this round 4, you should have a total, so count all your stitches, you should have a total of 144. And then you'll slip stitch into that top, the beginning of that round. Your slip stitch, and then we'll chain 1 and we'll turn our work to get to round 5. So you guys are going to love round 5 after all that work. Round 5 is going to be really nice and easy for you guys. So you're just going to single crochet all the way around. So you won't have to worry about your stitch markers. You can actually take those out if you still have yours in there. That was just for for round 4, breaking everything up. But for round 5, just single crochet all the way around, and you should have at the end of that round 114 because we did not do any increases or decreases or anything. So you should still have the exact same amount of stitches. So I'll meet you at the end of the round, and then I'll tell you the next step for that. All right, I just finished doing all my single crochet all the way around. I just counted all my stitches. You should have 114. I already counted. I have 114. So like we've been doing, just attach that to that first stitch. We're doing our slip stitch there, chain 1 and turn. So this is how it's starting to look. We're getting there, guys. All right, so round 6 is very similar to round 4, where we're going to have, you know, the curve here, the straight, the curve here, the straight, and the curve here. So this is where I would do, if you're still struggling with the stitches, adding your stitch markers after each little section to help you with the counting. All right, so we're going to, for this first section, you're going to single crochet, and you're going to increase. So that's that repeat we're going to do. So that was the first one. So we're going to do 2 more times. So you're doing your single crochet, increase. So that was their second one. single crochet, single crochet, increase. And then I would place my stitch marker right there if you're trying to keep your sections together. And then you'll do your 39 single crochet all the way to the end. Alright, just finished doing my 39 single crochet. Make sure you count that you have 39. And add your stitch marker if you're doing the stitch markers. So now we're going to do a single crochet in this next stitch, single crochet, and then increase. So that's that repeat we're going to do. And you're going to do that a total of 6 times. So that was our first one. So single crochet, single crochet, increase. That was our second one. Single crochet, single crochet, increase. That was our third one. Single crochet, single crochet, increase. That's our fourth one. Single crochet, single crochet, increase. It's our fifth one, and now sixth one. So single crochet, and increase. So double check to make sure you're lining up correctly. And this is where I would add my stitch marker to create this next section, and then we'll do our 39 single crochet all the way down. I'll meet you guys after that. Alright, just finished doing my 39 single crochet. Make sure to count your stitches to make sure you did 39. And then again, add your stitch marker if you're counting your little sections. And so we'll do that repeat again where we're doing single crochet, single crochet, increase, and we'll repeat that a total of 3 times. So that was our first one. So single crochet, increase. So that was our second time. So single crochet, and increase. That's our last one. So for round 6, if you're counting all your stitches, you should have a total of 126. Find your first stitch, do your slip stitch, chain 1, and turn. So it's coming guys, we're almost there. Alright, for round 7, we just have a 2 stitch repeat all the way around, and we're doing our baubles again. So remember when we did this one, we're going to be doing that again. So make sure that your baubles, when you're working your baubles, it should be popping up this way. So you want them to be face down. Otherwise, if your bauble is facing you right now, you must have done something wrong, because your baubles are going to start popping up on the other side. So, not sure what you did. You probably skipped a row or something, but make sure that your baubles are always showing up on the same side. Alright, so we're going to do our single crochet in that first stitch, and then we're going to do our baubles again. So remember, that's when you yarn over, insert, grab your yarn again, and pull through the first 2. Then you got 2 loops. Yarn over, insert, grab, pull through, grab, pull through the first 2. Now we have 3. Yarn over, insert, grab, pull through, grab your yarn, pull through the first 2. Now you got 4, so one more time of this. Yarn over, insert, grab, pull through, Yarn over and pull through the first, ever so carefully, first two. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that's what we should be getting each time. Pull through all 5 of the loops. So repeat that with your single crochet and then your bobbles all the way around. I'll meet you guys at the very end of this round. All right, finally went around and did all of those bobbles. Make sure you count all your stitches around. You should end on a bobble, and your stitch count should be 126, because we didn't really increase or decrease, we just did bobble stitches and single crochets. All right, so then we do what we do at the end of every single round. We find that first one from that very beginning and do a slip stitch and chain 1 and turn. Look at our bobbles, yay! Look how great. I'm sure yours looks great too. But look how great it's starting to come, you know, with the little bumps and everything. All right, so we're on row 8. So we're going to be doing that growing again on the corners, and then we'll be doing the straight. So grab your stitch markers again for this round, because we're going to be doing a lot of our counting again to help you keep track. All right, so our repeat for this one will be, so you'll increase in that first stitch, and then you'll single crochet in the next one, single crochet in the next one, and then single crochet in the next one. So you'll be increasing and then a single crochet, single crochet, single crochet. So you'll single crochet in the next 3 stitches. And that's your repeat, and you'll do that 3 times. So that was our first one. So we'll increase, single crochet, single crochet, and single crochet. So that was our second one. And you increase, single crochet, single crochet, and single crochet. So that's our third one. Grab your stitch marker and place it there. And then we'll do our 39 single crochets. Meet you guys at back after you do those. Alright, just finished doing my 39 single crochet. Make sure to count that you have 39. Now we're doing our repeat again. So we're going to do that increase, single crochet, single crochet, single crochet. So those are 3 single crochets. So that was the first repeat, or first part of our repeat. So we'll be doing that 6 times. So you got your increase, 1 single crochet, second single crochet, and third single crochet. So that's our second repeat. Increase, single crochet, single crochet, and single crochet. So that's our third one. Increase, 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, and 1 single crochet. So that's our fourth one. Increase, single crochet, single crochet, single crochet. That was our 5th repeat. So increase, 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, and our third single crochet. So there we go. Make sure that you are following along, and it's important to always double check. Your mind wanders sometimes when you're counting, so just make sure you did that 6 times. Add your stitch marker. And then we'll do our 39 single crochet. I'll meet you guys after you do those. Alright, I just did my 39 single crochet. This is where you place your stitch marker if you're keeping track of your stitches. So we're back to that, doing our repeat again on this other side. So you're going to increase in that next stitch, and then you're going to do your 3 single crochet in the next ones. So you got 1, 2, and 3. Oops, 3. So that was our first one. So we do this 3 times total. So this was our first time. This is our second one. So increase. Go 1, 2, and 3. So that's our second one. Now we're doing our increase. And then we do our next 3 stitches are single crochet. So 1, 2, and 3. Alright, so if you're going to count to make sure you've got the right number of stitches, you should have 138. So check that. And then slip stitch into that first stitch at the beginning. Chain 1 and turn your work. You guys are going to love this one. It's single crocheting all the way around again. So you should still have your 38 stitches because we're not increasing or decreasing, and your stitches should stay the same. So we got this one and then one more round, guys. So I'll catch you at the end of your single crocheting. All right, I just did all my single crochets all the way around, and I did count. I do have 38 stitches. So make sure you count that you have your 38 stitches. Now find your first stitch, do your slip stitch, chain 1 and turn. This is going to be our last row of our bag. And we're doing that growing again, so get your stitch markers ready. So in that first stitch you're going to do an increase. Then you're going to do 4 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. So you'll do single crochet 1, single crochet 2, single crochet 3, and single crochet number 4. And that's your repeat. So that was the first one. We do that a total of 3 times. So you got your increase, and 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, 3 single crochet, and the 4th one. So that's our second repeat. And increase. So 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, 3, and our 4th one. So that's our third repeat. Now add your stitch marker if you're wanting to do your counting, and we'll do our 39 single crochets all the way across. I'll meet you guys at the end. Alright, just did my 39 single crochet. Make sure you count that you have 39. Add your stitch marker. And then we'll do our repeat again. So we've got our increase. And then our single crochet in the next 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you're going to repeat that as a total of 6 times. So that's the first one. So do all the way to the end. We've been doing this for a while, so I'm hoping that you guys, I've already got a feel for this. So I'll meet you guys at the end of that. So you should have those all done. Make sure you did this repeat 6 times. Now add your stitch marker if you're counting, and then we'll do our 39 single crochet I'll meet you at the end of that. Alright, I just finished doing my 39 single crochet. Make sure you did 39. Now we're back to our repeat again. So we'll increase. And we'll go 1, 2, 3, and our 4th single crochet. And then you'll repeat that a total of 3 times. That's our first one. Increase. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's our second one. Increase. 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's our last repeat. So if you are counting all of your stitches, you should for this round have 150 stitches. So make sure you're counting that. Do our slip stitch. So this is going to depend on which one you're specifically making. So if you're making the ghost, you're done with this part, so you can fasten off. So what I would do is I'd give just a little bit of a tail, so like maybe that much, and snip your yarn and then pull that out. And then I would jump to the portion of this video where I start assembling, where we'll be sewing it all together like so, and then adding our straps. So jump to that part of the video if you're doing the ghost. If you're doing the jack-o'-lantern, stick around. I'll show you how to do the stem and the vine and all that stuff, because that part will happen next, and then we'll get to that part of attaching. So what you'll want to do is, we're not going to be done with this, so there's a way that you can kind of give yourself a little give, because I'm going to have us hold off on doing our orange so that we can make sure to line up our stem on this other side. So if you can give yourself a little give so it won't come loose. And we're going to pull our brown yarn now. So you're going to want to get that all set up. Make sure you have everything lined up evenly here. So where your little stitch ended up, we want to watch where that lines up. That's where we're going to want to attach our brown yarn. So right there. So grab your brown and you'll pull it through into that stitch. And I'll usually do a slip stitch to kind of secure that a little better. And then you're going to want to single crochet in the next 4 stitches. So we'll single crochet in that same stitch we did our slip stitch. So that's our first one. And we'll single crochet again. That's our second. Single crochet 3 and 4. Alright, and that'll start our stem. So you're going to do 3 more rows. So you'll chain 1 and turn. And you'll do that 3 more times. So this is our first row. Chain 1. Try not to get your yarn all tangled there. This is our second. Chain 1 and turn. And this is our last one. Now we'll fasten that off, so you'll do your little slip stitch there. You don't need a very long tail because you're going to sew this in, so you'll want to get your scissors and snip that. So don't leave it very long, but don't do it too short because you do have to weave this in. So just a little bit there. And we're all done with our brown now. That was all we needed that for. that through. Alright, so now we're going to bounce back to that orange. We just needed to know where to put that. Well, it was easy. Okay. Clear my space here. Alright, so back to our orange. You're going to chain 1. And turn. Now you're going to slip stitch in the next 2 stitches. You're going to chain 8, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And this is where I'm going to use my little stem here to kind of help me. So I'm going to slip this off a little bit because I'm going to see how this will look when, I know we got all our little tails here. Those will be gone. So this is where you get to kind of see, okay, do I like the way this is lining up? Where is it going to add up or end up? So get everything kind of even here. And then I'm probably going to attach, probably just on this other side right here. Like that. You're welcome to add if it looks like, because this one I could probably maybe add one more chain. Go for it, add one more chain. But it will stretch over time too. Okay, once you got that, make sure we get that secured. So we'll want to clip. Again, not very long tail, but we do need to weave it in. So I'm going to give it just a little give. And that is all for the orange, because we have our pumpkin all set up now for that. So now all we have left to do is our vine. And we'll have to sew that on. That won't be attached like these other ones were. Alright, so to do the vine, so get your green. And do your little slip knot. I'm going to chain 12. After you've got your chain 12, you're going to skip the first stitch and you're going to do 3 half double crochets in each stitch. So you're going to yarn over, insert, grab your yarn, and pull through all 3. And you're going to do that 2 more times, so a total of 3 times in each stitch. And that should get it to curl as you're doing that. Alright, so you should have a little curl going on with yours if you're doing your 3 half double crochet in each stitch. So now you're going to do a slip stitch to fasten off. And give yourself, you know, a little bit to sew and weave in. So you don't need a whole lot because we're just attaching this little small part. Because that's what I did with this one, is I just needed to do the little top here. And I just did a little teeny bit because I didn't want a lot to show, you know, with that green. You don't need a whole lot. Alright, we are done crocheting everything now. So now we can just attach our little vine. So you can attach it however you want. I attached mine on the right side. I really liked that. You're welcome to attach it on any side you want. I failed to mention at the beginning of this video, you are going to need a needle for sewing in your ends. So I apologize for not mentioning that earlier. So just figure out where you want to place your vine. And remember, it is going to show on the other side. Unless you line your bag. I didn't line my bag. If you're planning on lining it, or, you know, maybe putting felt on the inside, you could totally do that. And then you won't have to really worry about it. But like I said with this other one, I just gave just a teeny tiny bit right there. Unfortunately, it does show, but it's on the inside. It's fine. So figure out how you want to lay it. I'm going to be having mine probably like the other one. I'm just going to have it kind of right here. So you'll just want to just sew it right on through. I'm going to try and keep mine as simple as possible. Just because, like I said, I don't want a whole lot of my green on this other side. So just enough to attach it. So I'm just going kind of up and down through the little stitches here, making it secure. And I think what I did with the other one is I sewed this through, tied a knot, and then wove it in as best as I could without having it poke through the color. So you can do the best you can with that. If you don't want to sew it on, since you are gluing on your face, or if you're not gluing on your face, then completely disregard what I'm saying. But if you're going to glue on a felt face, you could even just glue this on if you're worried about the green showing through. Just know that when you use hot glue on yarn, it'd be best not to wash it, just because of, or at least don't put it in the dryer because the glue could melt. So keep that in mind, that it would have to be hand washed. Just good things to know. Wouldn't want it to get ruined and ruin your dryer. Alright, so I'm taking this other end and just popping it through on the other side. And this is where I'm going to tie my two greens together so that they're a little more secure. And that'll just make it that little bit of green. I'm going to weave them in as best as I can, hoping that they don't pop through my orange. I believe that's what I did with the other one. And you can just kind of lightly put it through. I think is what I did. You don't need it to go a whole lot, just enough to kind of get it out of the way and secured. Whatever makes you feel comfortable. Make sure it's not poking on the other side. That's not going to work. I think this will actually be fine. It's not, this ain't going to get tugged too much where it is. That's something to think about, is what your piece is. If it's getting tugged a lot, you want to really secure it. But if it's not getting tugged a whole lot, you don't have to worry too much about where your things are going. And then you'll want to weave these these ends in as well. Blech. It's quite a tongue twister. So I usually just kind of tuck this through the little loops going down. And then probably across here too. this one going across that bottom. And we can snip all these at once. Get them done. Go as close as you can so your green don't show, but don't go too close that you cut your orange, because I've done that. And sometimes you accidentally cut all the way through and then everything comes undone. So try not to do that. Alright, so we are ready to start getting those final stages of assembling. So working on our sides. Don't forget your one on the back here too. Alright, so now we're getting to doing the sewing up the sides. We'll be attaching the sides and adding our handle and then coming down. So regardless of whether you're doing the pumpkin or the ghost, this will be the exact same. So what you'll want to do is have your bag inside out, because we're going to work and crochet these two together as we work, and then it will make it look a lot neater on the outside, so you'll have a much smoother finish. I did them on the inside, so you'll have that sticking up, so you'll want a much smoother edge. So you'll want to attach your yarn on your bottom right. So find your 2 stitches there on that bottom and attach your yarn. So attach your yarn. And so you're going to single crochet each side together. So you'll be going through each layer and you'll work through 26 of the stitches. So you'll go into that stitch that you did your slip stitch, that'll count as your first single crochet, and then you'll work all the way up to 26. So make sure you're going through both layers. So I'm going through this one, I'm going through this one, single crocheting. So you're just putting your hook through both of the layers. Now that you've done your 26 single crochet, so now we're going to start working on doing the strap part. And doing the strap, we're going to be doing a foundation single crochet. So I'll walk you guys through on how to do that. So when you're doing a foundation single crochet, you're going to be looking for that loop right there. So that's first loop kinda right here. That's what you're going to work into. And you're going to keep looking for that, and I'll keep showing you how to find that. So you're going to go into that loop, grab your yarn and pull through. And then you're going to yarn over and pull through just that first loop. And that first loop right here is going to be the one that we're going to work into. So we worked on that one before, and so now you're going to work into that one when the time comes. So just kind of pay attention. Sometimes you can hold on to that so you don't lose it, because it might tighten and it'll get really hard for us to work our hook through it. So what we're going to do is yarn over again and pull through those other 2. And then this will be that loop we'll work into again. So we'll keep doing that. So we'll go into that loop, that we just created down there. You grab your yarn and pull through. Yarn over and pull through just that first one. So this will be that new loop that we'll work through. So you'll keep kind of following it along. So you can grab that if you want to. Remember that that's the one we'll be working into. Yarn over, pull through those other two. So we'll just keep on doing that. Going in that one, grabbing and pulling through. So when you yarn over and pull through the one, that one becomes your new stitch that we'll work into each time. And so you'll keep doing that all the way. And so because it can get tricky trying to count and all that, and everybody's yarn is going to be different, I just measure my strap. And so what I did for mine is I kept doing it until the strap measured about 25 inches. So once this measures and it goes all the way around and it can meet here and it'll be about 25 inches, that's when we'll stop doing the foundation chains. Another thing that you'll want to start doing on this other side to make sure your strap lines up correctly is line everything up and then count. So kind of pinch and then count your stitches like we did where we did 26. Try to find your 26th stitch and maybe put a stitch marker or something to kind of mark it, because that's where our strap's going to go on the other side. And so we'll want to make sure it's even, because that's what we'll be working down next. So we're working all the way around. So start getting that set up as well. So find your 26th stitch from counting and going up, and then also finish doing your foundation chain to get it about, I mean, it's whatever you want too also. If you want it longer than 25 or shorter than 25, just know, but it'll still come over to the 26 stitches. So figure out what you want to do, but I'm doing it to be 25 inches. So I'll meet you guys back when you find the desired length, and then I'll talk about doing this last half. Alright, so I did my foundation single crochet. I measured mine. It's just a little bit over 24 inches. It's like probably like 25, I think it was. I think it's kind of crazy measuring this, but it gets all twisted, guys. It gets twisted. So try to line it up as much as you can. It doesn't have to be exact, you know, it's just an idea. So I kind of follow along. So yeah, it's about 25. Where it's measuring right about there. So I said earlier, make sure that you count, you know, match up your bottom here and then count all your little stitches together. And I marked mine with some, you could use a paper clip or a stitch marker or pins or something to attach so that you know where your stitch is going to be coming in, because that's what we're going to be doing next. Make sure you're not all twisted here, because that's going to really affect our strap if it's twisted, and we don't want that. So we're going to be attaching now. I'm trying not to get this all twisted here. There we go. Now find where your stitches lined up, because that's where you're going to be going down. So you'll attach into there. I don't need this anymore once I get that going. Get my strap. Get caught on my stem there. You're going to work your single crochet. So you got your yarn here. You're going to grab it and pull it through and do your single crochets. So that's a little tricky trying to attach that. And then just keep everything lined up and work all the way down. You should have your 26 stitches going down. So make sure that lines up evenly. Okay, I'm getting down to the end. I'm going to, it's not quite a stitch. This is like that last stitch that kind of curves. But I like to kind of just, you know, include it as a stitch, because then it doesn't have a little hole there on the corner and things don't poke through. And then do your slip stitch and you can fasten off. We don't need a very long tail because we're just gonna weave that in. And since this was the one earlier, I'm actually gonna snip this one because this already got woven in. So just weave in your ends just so that they'll look nice. And then when you've done doing that, you'll be able to turn your project inside out. And you'll have your clean edges now because we did that on the inside. So you'll just poke everything out. But then everything will look a lot nicer, I think, than having to do that on the outside. So now you'll want to get yourself going with your felt. So cut out your eyes and nose and mouth however you want to do it. So I, with mine, just went very simple, where you can just cut out triangles. Or if you're doing your ghost, I just did circles. And just kind of, I think I freehanded them. There's a little bit of imperfections there, but I just freehanded everything. But you're welcome to do a actual, teeth, or, you can make it be having an open mouth too, where it's surprised. You don't even have to do triangles. But that's just what I did for this. I wanted it simple. But you're welcome to get really creative with this, and then you can hot glue everything on. A suggestion with the hot glue is go very lightly. I didn't go all the way to the edges because with hot glue sometimes it'll kind of pool and create little globs, and I didn't want it to show that I hot glued it. So be really careful when you're hot gluing to just kind of focus more, because I didn't go all the way. So things are a little just loose on the ends where you can kind of lift it up. But I feel like that keeps it from looking so, not as neat. Because I did have a little issue here where it did kind of glob a little, but it's not too bad. But sometimes it'll glob really bad, and then you can tell, and it doesn't look as nice. Thank you for watching. I hope that this tutorial was very helpful, that you were able to make either a jack-o'-lantern or a ghost bag. If you find that you do struggle at any part of this tutorial, please drop it in the comments down below, and I will try and to address whatever issues that you're having, and hopefully I can clear up any misunderstandings on any of the steps along the way. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon next to it, and make sure to have your settings turned on, because if you don't, you'll miss out on all my videos that I'm posting coming up here. I'm going to be doing a lot of DIYs and tutorials with the holidays coming around, and I'm sure you don't want to miss out on my next video. Thank you all for watching. Until next time, guys. Bye!